As I tried to introduce to you earlier, this course, Fundamentals of Entrepreneurship, Marketing 306. There are two main instructors. Myself, Samuel Buami, and Shelter Tay, all of us from the business school, marketing and entrepreneurship departments of University of Ghana Business School, Legon. I also keep on saying that you have reading materials interspersed with videos and other reading materials. As students, it's important that after lectures, after interactive lectures, you must have reading materials. So a reading list, the focus of the main reading list. It's a book written by Samuel Buami entitled Entrepreneurship, subtitled Entrepreneurial Education, Venture Creation, and SME Management in Ghana. It's available in the bookshops and other areas of vendors, such as the filling stations or the shopping malls. You can have access to them over there. It is important that you have a reading material to every course. In as much as you cannot, maybe Google or the internet, but it not be that important as the book given to you as required reading list or required material for reading. So try to acquire them. And as you read them, make your own contributions in terms of criticizing it. And if possible, let the author know what do you think are the shortcomings of the book. As students, it's important for you to have a book in your personal library, as we refer to from time to time. As you know, there are many things that you can get from the internet. I often say they are oftentimes junks. But these set books are a bit pertinent to the material required of you for that course. I also said that you'll be teaching you this course. So from that time, Shelter Tay also be teaching you. And all of us will be taken seriously as the case may be. Anybody can be a facilitator of the course. Thank you.
You are welcome to Entrepreneurship, Fundamentals of Entrepreneurship, MKTG 306, the most exciting course in University of Ghana. Like Dr. Buami said, my name is Shelter, and I'll take you for this topic and other ones as well. So, with this session 5, and from session 1 to session 4, we've tried to understand what entrepreneurship is. So we've been introduced to the concept of entrepreneurship. We've learned about the multidisciplinary nature of entrepreneurship. We've actually learned how to come up with a business idea. The last session, session 4, we looked at what motivates people to become entrepreneurs and then how to come up with business ideas. Now, I'm assuming that by this time you have come out with some business ideas. And if you have not, you need to pause the video and brainstorm as a group or with your people to come up with certain business ideas, because that's what we are going to use for this particular session. This session is based on the first 4 sessions that we've done already. You need to come up with a business idea and then we can go ahead. If you don't have a business idea, it will be difficult to understand what you are doing. And just to emphasize the point, this is the main book for the course. As you can see, this is the main book for the course. We'll also find a way of making it available to all students. So you continue to ask your tutors and your center heads about the book, and this is the main book for the course. Thank you. With that said, let's dive into today's lesson. Today's lesson is about the business model canvas. The business model canvas is the tool that helps us to organize our ideas. So essentially, it was someone's PhD work that has now become one of the most fundamental tools that we use in entrepreneurship today. And globally, there are competitions going around on entrepreneurship that is using the business model canvas. Those trainings are using the business model canvas. At the end of this session, we are hoping that you understand what the business model canvas is. We are hoping that you should be able to design a business model for a company, and you should be able to create a company at the end of this session. One of the tools I will be using for this particular course or this particular session is the business model canvas generation that was developed by Alexander Osterwalder. And it's in your Sakai resources. And then we've put in links on the slides so that you can have access to it, but it's in your Sakai resources. There's a business model design poster also in your Sakai resources, so you can use your resources to get all the tools that you're going to need for this particular session. So what is the business model canvas? If you want to come up with a business idea, what do? Do you go through a business plan, which is the next session we are going to do? Now, people have come to suggest that in the 21st century, and even from the late part of the 20th century, we need to think about how we start our businesses in a much more simple way. And that is how come we have been able to design the business model canvas. The business model canvas essentially is a tool that helps organizations to create and deliver value. So it has 9 parts, and these parts help these companies to be able to execute on their missions profitably. What it means is that if you have a certain idea about a certain business that you want to do, you can actually go through these 9 tools, and by going through these 9 tools, you have a better appreciation of how to actually start the business. So this session is a very hands-on session, and I hope you would come along with me. So what are the 9 main building blocks of a business model canvas? In other words, if you have a business and you want to turn it, you have an idea, as we learned in session 4. And in this session 5, we are saying that at the end of the session, you should be able to turn your idea into a business. How do you go about it? These are the things that you need to know. The first thing is that you need to know what your customer segments are. So for the idea that you have, who are the customers that you are looking for? Now, customer segments, there's an S, customer segment, meaning that you might have different types of people that you are looking forward to serving. For instance, a company like Vodafone. Vodafone has different customer segments. So you and I, we are individual customer segments that Vodafone serves. But Vodafone also have B2B business, which means that Vodafone serves other businesses as well. So Vodafone has customer segments that are business people. Vodafone has customer segments that are also individuals. So as a business, looking at the idea that you have come with, what are the customers that you want to serve? For instance, if you even look at a company like Facebook, Facebook has different customer segments. So some of the customers of Facebook, like you and I, we use Facebook for free. But you wonder, how does Facebook make all the money? It means that there's another customer who is paying for our ability to use the service free. And Facebook is then for selling adverts to those companies, because you and I are on the service and we are going to watch those adverts. So that's how Facebook is going to make money. So you need to totally understand who your customer segments are. Some companies have several customer segments. Some companies have one customer segment. So you need to understand what your customer segments are. The second thing we are going to look at is your value proposition. When it comes to value proposition, we are saying that what are you offering to each of the customer segments? So if you are into, let's call it an agric business, or you are into farming, maybe farming of poultry, or you are producing Ghanaian rice, locally produced rice, what are you offering to the Ghanaian customer? Are you offering something that is much more nutritious? Are you offering something that is African or Ghanaian? How are you positioning yourself as a business? And you get to realize that companies like Toyota, their value proposition is different. You know, they produce cars like Toyota Corolla and some of these brands that they have, Avensis and all of that, for the middle income customers. And therefore, that is one of the customer segments. They have another segment where they produce cars like the Lexus and all of that for a different customer segment, which is a little bit high class. So the point is that when it comes to the value segment, value proposition, what are you offering to the customers? Do customers care about what it is that you intend to give to them? You should be able to think about that. So with the idea that you have developed, ask yourself, what value are you offering to the customers? Why should customers pay for what it is that you are giving to them? The next thing you need to understand is your channels. Now, how do you now make this product available to the customers that you are going to serve? So if you are selling cars, or if you are selling, you are producing shoes, or you are producing shito, or you are producing gari, packaged gari, or you are producing granules, whatever it is, how are you going to sell it, or are you going to deliver it, or how are you going to distribute it to these customers that you have served? Based on the value proposition that you have promised to them, you should find a channel that corresponds to the value proposition. So for instance, some people will buy products at the mall, some people buy products at Makola Market in Accra here, some people buy products at very high-end shops like probably maybe Woolworth, or they would go to several other places to go and purchase those products. Now, where they find themselves actually reflects the kind of value that they are going for. So in terms of the value proposition, sometimes you might want to, in terms of the channels, you might want to sell it in a shop, you might want to sell it online, you might want to use distributors, you might want to use retailers, or you might want to just do personal selling yourself. So how do you get the product or the service that you are having, how do you get it to the customers? That's what your channel speaks about. The next thing is about the customer relationships. And customer relationships essentially talks about how do you show love to your customers? How do you get customers? How do you keep the customers? And how do you eventually grow these customers over time so that they can keep on coming to you, so that you can also keep on making money? So how do you show love to customers? That's your customer relationship. Many of you, on your birthday, your banks don't even remember you. Some of you, on your birthday, your bank send you a text message and you're excited. But there are other people that when the bank sends them a text message on their birthday, it will be an insult, because those people are having several millions of dollars in their accounts. And so what the banks do for those particular type of customers will not be the same as just sending them a text message. It will be an insult, because they're having several millions of Ghana cedis in their account. So when it comes to customer relationship as well, it has to do with your value proposition. What value are you offering to each customer audiences, and how are you showing love to each of the customer audiences? In fact, in the University of Ghana Business School, on our master's program and what you call the special programs, when students come, sometimes they get water always, they get food available to them. But for students who are not in that category, there's something else that is done for them. They don't get as much as what those students do. So these are the different ways that we show love to customers, different ways that we express love to customers. So you need to find out how you are going to do that as a company. The next thing we need to talk about is how do you generate money? What are the streams of revenue that you have? So essentially, we advise that as a business, as much as possible, refrain from just transactional businesses where you just sell one-off to a customer and there is no way to actually continue to make money from the customer. So your revenue streams. So that means that there should be multiple ways for you to be able to capture value. Remember, last semester I learned in Principles of Marketing that students, businesses must be able to create value and then capture value. So with regards to the revenue streams, we are asking, how do you capture value from these customers? How do you make money as a business? So you can make money, and I'll use again the example of WhatsApp. Many of us do not pay anything for using WhatsApp, and yet still the WhatsApp company, which has now been acquired by Facebook, is still making money. So how you ask yourself, how do they make money? When you go to Google and you type search for entrepreneurship, and you get so many resources on entrepreneurship, you don't pay Google anything to use the service, and yet still Google remains one of the most profitable companies in the world. That means that they have different segments of customers and they have different streams of making money, much of which is through advertisement or probably providing some kind of solutions to customers. So as a business, you need to think about how you make money as a business. Now, if you look on the slide, I've mentioned 5 key components of the business model canvas. These 5 key components consist the front face of the canvas. And these are the things that the customers that you have oftentimes interact with. So the customers would really understand the customer segments because it's really about them. The customers must understand your value proposition because it is really about them. The customers must understand your channels because these are ways by which you get your product to the customers. And then, of course, your customer relationship, you need to show some kind of love to them, and they understand that as well as the revenue streams. But the rest of the 4 that we are going to discuss, they are the back end of the business model canvas. And these interaction points at the back end are not things that customers usually become aware of. And so we'll dive into the back end of the business model canvas. The first one that we'll look at the back end, which is the 6th element of the business model canvas, is the key resources. So in order to produce, or in order to manufacture, or in order to offer your services to people, what kind of resources are you going to need? For some businesses, the resources that you need is intellectual resources in terms of your intellectual property. For other businesses, you actually need staff. Human resources might probably be the most valuable resource that you need. As University of Ghana, human resources counts as one of the most important resources that we need to continue to function. Now, for some other businesses, you might need a lot of assets, you might need land, you might need machines, you might need computers. And so every other business needs to have its own unique set of resources. You need to ask yourself, what are the key resources that you need as a business to be able to function? The next one that we are going to look at is the key activities. And in terms of the key activities, when you wake up as a business, what do you do on a daily basis as a business? So if you're a university, it means that on a daily basis, you are teaching. On a daily basis, you are researching. On a daily basis, you are contributing to society. So these are some of the key resources that a lecturer might do in a university setting. So as a business, you need to ask yourself that what are the key resources, or what are the key activities that you do as a business. If you are into farming, that means that some of your key activities has to do with finding seedlings, planting, pruning, and all of that. Those are some of the things that are going to be the key activities that you do as a business. And so this is very unique to every business. And you need to sit down, and based on the idea that you have told us you want to develop, you need to come along and think about the key activities that you need to do as a business to make sure that your idea does not remain an idea but becomes a business. The next thing we are going to look at is the key partners. For every business to function, you need certain key partners in order for you to become effective. In other words, you need some other people who will be able to push your agenda as a business in order for you to function. So you need to ask yourself that, look, as a business, maybe you're into rice production. Maybe some of the key partners you might need is people who will give you the land. Or it can actually be people who are your suppliers. So your suppliers can be key partners for you to do businesses. Sometimes it could be your retailers, it could be your distributors. So key partners cut across the value chain, and you need to be intelligent enough to understand who the key partners might be. In fact, one of the companies that was into real estate, the key partners that a car manufacturing company actually chose a real estate company as a key partner. And you would oftentimes ask why. That was because the real estate company was providing houses for their clients. And the car manufacturing company convinced the real estate company to provide 2 garages. Psychologically, with time, the people who were staying in those houses realized that, okay, we have a second garage. Why don't we have a car in there? And psychologically, they were filling those garages with cars that were produced by the company that had partnered with the real estate company. So, and that's particularly a long-term effect. But you can have shorter-term effect of key partners that help you to execute on your business profitably. The last thing that we need to understand is your cost structure. With regards to the cost structure, you need to tell us how much it's going to cost you, or what the key components of the cost for your business is going to be. So you've told us that you are going to have customer segments, you are going to have value proposition, you are going to have channels, you are going to have customer relationship, you are going to have key resources, key activities, and key partners. Each of these components of the business model canvas is going to come at a cost. And you need to be able to tell us how this cost is going to look like. And by drawing these things down in just this box. So this is a very small box that helps you to understand what the business model canvas is. So each of the things that I've discussed, you just write them down in these boxes. You don't need to talk too much about it, just pointers. And one exciting thing about the business model canvas is that now everything you put in the canvas, initially they are guesses. You are guessing that you are going to have these customers. You are guessing that this is how much the customers were willing to pay for it. You are guessing that this is how you want to show love to them. You are guessing that these are the resources that you are going to have. After putting down the business model canvas, you do what we call customer development, which means that you now have to go to the market or go and do what some may call marketing research and ask people that, look, if I were going to offer you this particular product, are you going to buy at this price? And this is what you need to do for each of the elements of the business model canvas to a time where you are certain enough that the customers are going to pay for your service. So with this, we've come through the business model canvas. We've seen the 9 sections of the business model canvas. In the slides, there are several links that have been provided for you to understand the business model canvas in detail. There are videos that are made available. There are small books that have been made available for you to understand what the business model canvas is. So I'm sure you're going to have fun going to the business model canvas and looking through the resources that have been made available to you. Thank you very much, and we'll meet in the next session.